All right, guys, so we are actually going to continue kind of what we have done yesterday or the day before. And what we're going to do is we're just going to draw these tape diagrams to figure out what my answers are going to be to these problems. So I'm always going to draw my tape diagram. I'm going to look at that fraction. That denominator is always going to tell me how many parts I have. So on this one, I'm going to have 3 parts. And what I want to do is I need to split 18 3 different ways. And this is where you kind of have to think, well, if I have 18 and I divide it by 6, how many would go into, oops, I gave you guys the answer. If I had 18 and I divided it by 3, how many would go into each section? It would be 6. And so 1/3 of 18 would be that 6. Okay, let's take a look at 36, or letter B. We have 1/3, so I want to show 3s, and I've got 36. And so what I need to do is I need to split 36 3 different ways. And some of you guys might already know what this would be, but if I would divide it out, it would actually be 12. So I would have 12 in this part, 12 in this part, and 12 in this part. So 1/3 of 36 is going to be 12 because I'm just looking at that 1/3. Okay. Now, as we get down to these other problems, guys, and sorry, it's getting blurry. I'm not sure what's going on. There we go. Is that these are going to be a little bit different because no longer am I just looking at that one part. Okay. So if I have my bar, and right now I'm going to look at fourths. So I want to split this into fourths, and I need to think about 24. Well, if I had 24 and I need to split it into 4 different parts, I would have 6 because remember 6 times 4 is 24. Okay. But instead, right now, I'm going to be looking at 3. So what is 3/4 of 24? Well, it's going to be 6, 6, and 6, or 6, 12, 18. So my answer would be 18. Okay. Same thing here on the 3/8. I'm going to make 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And I have 24. So I want to know in each of these boxes how many is going to go in that. So you kind of think about 24 goes into 8. 24 divided by 8. Well, you know what? That's 3. Because when I think of 8 times 3 equals 24. So whenever we're doing something like this, you guys can always think 8 times what is 24. Okay? So I'm looking at 3/8. So I only want to look at 3 of those parts. Well, 3, 6, 9. That answer is going to be 9. Okay. Same thing on letter E. I'm going to make my bar diagram here. Okay. If I have 25, 5 times something is going to equal 25. Okay. Well, if I think about it, it's going to be 5. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. And it wants me to look at 4. So 4/5 of 25. So I'm only going to look at 4 of those parts, and that's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 15, 20. This answer equals 20. All right. Letter F, I'm going to make 7ths. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. I wanted to 7 times what is going to give me 140. Okay. Well, if you guys look at this, 7 times what gives me 14? 2, and I've got to add a 0, so it's going to be 20. So each of these boxes is going to equal 20. Okay, 1/7 of 140 is going to equal 20. Okay, sorry, that 2 is a little different. Weird, I was going to write a 7 for some reason. All right, so down here on letter G, this is going to be a little different, because I have 4 spots, 1/4. And basically, I have 9, guys. But when I think about it, 4 times what equals 9? Well, gosh, that's going to be really difficult, because if I do 4 times 2, that gives me 8. If I do 4 times 3, that gives me 12. So what I need to do is I actually need to figure out if I were to put 2 in here, 2 in here, 2 in here, 2 in here, that gives me 2, 4, 6, 8, because I know that that was really close to that 9 without going over, okay? So I have 1 left over. How could I split this 1 to go into each of those 4s? Well, if you kind of hear it, how can I split this 1 to put it into each of the 4? I would say it's 1/4. Okay, So basically what this says is that I've got 2/4 plus 2/4 plus 2/4 plus 2/4 will equal 9. So one of them equals 2 1/4. So you have to be careful. Sometimes it's not going to go in nice and evenly, so you might have to come up with that fraction. Here's another one that's going to be very similar to that. Okay, had to make fifths. So right now I've got 5 times what equals 12? Well, guys, 5 times 2 is 10, 5 times 3 is 15. So I'm going to have to do 2. So I'm going to put 2 in each of these places, and when I count these up, that equals 10. So I have 2 more pieces left that I need to split between 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Gosh, guys, what do you think I'm going to put there? 2/5 of 12. Well, even if I do a half of one, that's really not going to work because I'm going to be out and one of them's not going to have enough. So if I were to take 2 and split it into 5s, okay, what I would have to do is each 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, each of them would get how many? Okay, if I had 2 that I need to split 5 different ways. So remember, this kind of goes back to what we had before. We have 1 unit equals okay. So if I were to split this, 1 unit would be 2/5, right? Okay, because I know that 1 unit equals that 2/5, so I can give 2/5 to that one. I can give 2/5 to that one. So each of these are going to be 2/5, okay? So now what it wants me to do is it wants me to know what is 2 of them. So I have 2/5 plus 2/5. 2 2/5 plus 2 2/5. Well, if I do my math, I would get 4 4/5 is what that would equal. This one's a little bit difficult, so you kind of have to think back. Now, I don't want you guys to get overwhelmed with these last two because they're actually pretty simple, okay? So first of all, I have 2/3. So I'm going to show thirds. And I know that 2/3 of a number is 10. So if these two have to equal 10, what does that mean these two have to equal? Well, they both have to equal 5. If these equal 5, this one has to equal 5. So what is that whole number actually? It would be 15. Okay, same thing here, pretty simple. I have 4s, 1, 2, 3, and 4. I know that these 3 are 24. So if these 3 equal 24, if I were to take 24 and split it 3 different ways, I would have 8, 8, 8. This one would have to be 8. So that number that's missing is 32.